Future-proofing African mining largely means future-proofing the people who drive the industry. Are today's youth ready for the future? And if not, how do we ensure that they are? For more, we are joined by Francis. Francis, thank you so much for your time. I mean, when you think about the changing views of the youth towards the industry, how is it influencing educational curricula as well as some of the future career pathways that are outlined within the sector?
Yes, so if we look at the youth, there's a massive focus in terms of social responsibility. They want to see how industries respond to environmental challenges, how industry are more proactive, engaging with the communities. So that obviously influences the way that they look at mining. And it's important that educational institutions such as universities, but also mining companies, start to respond to that particular challenge, either in the curricula when we're talking about universities, but also in the marketing and the engagement that mining company has with the schools, but also with the communities. One of the major challenges, not only in South Africa or the African continent, but also globally, is the fact that less young students take up at school science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related subjects. And as you know, that is the essential component to generate a pool from where the youth could enter the mining industry. So it's also important that the mining industry, together with universities, get that message across, because that's like the feeder stream as you come into the mining. So it is once again getting the positive message of why mining is important, and the fact that minerals are used everywhere in the world. And how do you bring that message sustainably across? And I think the universities, together with the mining companies, need to do a far greater job there to be able to get the youth into the mining and into a path that related to mining. I just want to add one last point. When we look at mining, probably about 10, 15 years ago, it was very much discipline specific. Geology, project management, mining engineering. Now it's transdisciplinarity. That is the key focus. So we mustn't underestimate that particular advantage that we've got. So you can study psychology and social sciences, and you can also study work in the mining industry. So how do we capitalize on that?
There's so much to unpack in some of the statements that you make, but before we talk about how you capitalize on some of these sort of cross-sector relationship happening, not just between mining and other industries, let's talk about what you mentioned around universities and the mining industry having to work with some of the schools to make sure that you encourage that interest in the STEM subjects. Because as you mentioned, they are quite important. What has been your experience and the kind of work you're doing in that space with working alongside the mining companies to get young people excited about math and science?
Yeah. So the university itself has got different programs that we interfaces with the school. What we often do is when we focus on mining, we also try to work with the mining companies to say, well, you might sponsor materials for the school, but come with us and talk to the students. Even if they interfaces with the communities, say, for instance, upscaling youth in the communities with programs like artisan training, welding, boiler making, use that opportunity to bring across why it is important for youth and also for young children which is at school, to study STEM-related subjects. So I think it's a partnership that we bring across. But what's very important, we've got the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences in South Africa that works on the continent. Talking to one of the key lecturers there, it's about not that the subjects, the STEM-related subjects, are difficult. It's often the lecturer or the teacher, the way in which he or she brings the content across, that create that difficulty. So what they are now doing is to focus on the teachers, to say, well, how do you bring STEM subjects, the content across? And again, there's space for the mining industry and the universities to work together with that sort of interventions.
Okay, so we've spoken about that, but let's talk about the initiatives within the university. Once you've gotten them excited about STEM subjects from a high school level, they come into the University of Pretoria, they enroll for mining, engineering, or whatever the field may be, but now they want to go into that sector that they studied for. How are you working to get them ready for the, call it the working world, or your internship, or whatever the program may be? Do you have to work with some of the mining companies so that what you're teaching at a university level when it comes to the subject and the material is in line with where the industry is going, and it almost feels like you're just putting a puzzle together?
Yeah, and I think I want to latch on to your last point. Are they aligned? And that alignment can only happen if you start to co-create the content of the curriculum. So what we have at the University of Pretoria, and to a certain extent also in other universities in the technical programs, professional programs, is that we have advisory boards that guides the content of the curriculum. And that advisory boards consist of members from the mining industry, if we talk about mining specifically. So you not only get insight of what are the thinking currently happening in mining, but you also develop a continuous relationship, a relationship that I said go over sectorial boundaries, universities and industry. And so that helps. And then it's much more easier to say what are the combined programs that we can start to co-create, and how can we work together. So the advisory board informing the content. Then if there are programs that we interfaces with the schools, we try to partner with the mining industry. And then what we also do is we sometimes do have open days, either at the university or in the community. Then we invite also the mining industry representatives to come and talk to the youth, and very importantly to the parents or guardians, because they often convey and stretches the message. So I think the bottom line here is, how can you co-create, and how do you make sure that that relationship is seamless between the higher education sector or the university and the mining sector?
One of the things some of the guests have brought up here in the conversations that we've had on MITV is that the Mining Indaba has been about networking, meeting new faces, seeing old faces, but most importantly, it has been about learning. And what I believe from this conversation is that a lot of universities on the continent will want to learn from the way you've approached things in bridging that gap between what we're seeing on the youth side and getting them very interested in mining, but it's that connection, that alignment you spoke of. Yeah. What are some of the lessons that can be taken away from your experience as the University of Pretoria that another university in another part of the continent can learn from to avoid some of the teething issues in the early stages?
Yeah. So I think what is important is to not see this, if we use now the Mining Indaba, as just a place where we're talking about the challenges of mining, investment into mining, policies related to mining, but also try to say that the universities is a key actor in that space. Traditionally, you would not have seen that, but as year, and in fact this year, we have brought more youth into mining, the Mining Indaba. So for me, it's in fact, don't try to only focus it as a non-educational platform. It actually is as an educational platform. The link is basically for me in 2 or 3 areas. The one is on human capital. You need the next generation of professionals that can think differently into mining to make it more sustainable. Secondly, some of the discussions that need deep understanding, the discussions, for instance, critical minerals. Critical to whom? And what does it actually mean? I believe that universities need to be a key part of that. Do deep dives and see where the deposits are and how do you extract that. And thirdly, it's also in the policy environment that we can make an impact. We've got good relationship and have got relationship with different members of of government, and how do we bring that in? So the lessons that I would like to convey is you can't contribute if you aren't part, and don't wait for an invitation. Be there, proactive, and then secondly, try to focus on co-creation of solutions. It's not only the university. Reach out with other actors in the mining industry, whether it's government, whether it's the banks, or whether it's the mining companies, and how do you co-create some of the solutions? And then thirdly, just be visible. It's important that the university voice, or the higher education voice, is also highly profiled at forums such as the Mining Indaba.
What does the idea of future-proofing the mining industry mean to you?
For me, it's important that we focus on the resilience of the mining industry, on the sustainability, and I think that sustainability is primarily for me going to be driven by human capital, and that's quite crucial, but also technological advancements. So for me, when I look at the future-proofing, is how are all of those aspects integrated to make a mining environment that is very much forward-looking, that is resilient, and that actually talks about an industry that we are making to such an extent that can deliver on the future generation that also have to participate in mining. And it's working on that today for tomorrow, focusing on the key aspects, but very much driven by technology.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For more insights, you can go to miningindaba.com.